Hey everyone, it's Nina. Thanks for joining me today for a new video. I wanted to bring you something a little bit different today. I want to talk to you about creative block. I have that happen to me every once in a while. We all do. And sometimes that's hard to get out of. But I wanted to share my thoughts with you on how to kind of pull yourself out of creative block and some of the things that you can do to help yourself continue crafting because like I'm sure you're like me, I still want to keep crafting even though I have creative block. So I wanted to share my thoughts with you on the things I like to do when I have creative block, and hopefully this might be helpful for you too. Now in today's video, I am showcasing one of the brand new STAMPtember exclusives from Simon Says Stamp. This is a collaboration set with Memory Box. I have been a huge fan of Memory Box for years, and I love working with them. They're a really fabulous company, great people. Their products are beautiful, and I'm so excited that they're partnering with Simon Says Stamp again for STAMPtember 2021. They've been part of many STAMPtembers in the past, and I've been so happy to always be able to use their STAMPtember collaboration sets. So this particular set is called True Friend. It's a really beautiful floral set. This is a 4x6 stamp set, and again, like any of the other Simon Says Stamp collaboration stamp sets for STAMPtember 2021, this is a limited edition set, so it's only available while supplies last, so make sure you grab it if you love it because it won't last very long, I'm sure. What I'm going to start doing first is stamping this floral image along the bottom portion of my card onto watercolor paper. So I was having creative block, like I told you. And one of the things that I love to do when I have creative block is reach for techniques and things that I love because they're things that I've used many times in the past, whether it's a technique or a specific product. I find it really helpful to have that familiarity with something that you've used many times in the past. So for me, that's watercolors. I've used watercolors since my beginning years of card making, which was many years ago. And that's always something that I love to reach for. So that was why I chose watercolors for today's project. Now, the other thing that I like to do when I'm having creative block is, like I said, to reach for products that I'm familiar with. So in this case, I'm using Karin markers. They're easy to work with. They're easy to blend. I don't have to work really hard at getting a really vibrant color palette with these markers because they're already so saturated. So having that aid is really nice too because it's something that I know I'm going to have great success with, and I'm not going to find myself getting frustrated if I'm not having a good day with creating. Trying to do something a little bit more complicated is not always the best way to go because it just makes you more frustrated. So I went for the simple Karin markers to be able to do some bright and happy colors. That's another thing I love. I love bright and happy colors. So reach for a color palette that you love to work with. That's helpful too. When you work with something that you love using, it's going to make your projects a lot easier to work with. All right, so once I did all my watercoloring, I wanted to add some sky in the background, and I wasn't sure where I was going with this, but I decided to start off by ink blending. It's another technique that I love to use. So I pulled out Simon Says Stamp's Seafoam ink. This is one of their brand new Pawsitively saturated inks. I'm using the Simon Says Stamp blending brushes in both the small and the large. And I'm going to then use the smaller blending brush to add a little bit of green towards the bottom of this watercolor piece. You'll also notice that I'm holding my ink pads in place with the Pawsitively Everything tool. If you haven't seen that tool, that thing is so helpful. I love that tool for holding my ink pads in place. Now, one thing you may not have realized with these new Pawsitively saturated inks from Simon is that they're actually water reactive. And you can take a little bit of water, add some splatter details on top of the ink, and then lift them off to reveal that pretty splatter effect in the background. I do like to dry mine in between doing the splatters just to make sure they set well, and it also enhances them a bit more. And of course, the other reason I'm drying them is because I'm going to add even more splatter. If you watch my YouTube channel, you know I love to add glitter and splatter and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to start first by spraying the bottom of the panel only with some glitter dust from Thermoweb. Now, I would have normally done this outside, but for the video's sake, I did spray it inside of my spray box. Then after applying that glitter, only along the bottom portion where the flowers are, I brought in some shimmer mist from Brutus Monroe, and I'm going to splatter that over the whole entire thing. And that's going to add some really nice texture and some nice splatter details. Another thing I love. So that was one of the reasons why I chose to go that route. So now I'm really trying to add some other things that I love to do for my cards into this particular project. So I'm continuing to reach for things that I enjoy using, I enjoy working with, I enjoy creating. And in this particular case, I'm going to add even more stenciling to the background to create some raindrops. This adds a really great focal point and finishes off the scene beautifully. It adds something to the background. I used Ocean Pawsitively ink from Simon Says Stamp to add that. And the stencil is a raindrop stencil that I actually designed for Simon. After applying the ink and cleaning my stencil, I laid the stencil back over top of those raindrops, which was pretty easy to do because they're a good size, so it's really simple to line that back up. And I'm applying transparent texture paste, which is a gloss finish, over top of the stenciling I've just added. And this is going to give these raindrops a more lifelike appearance. They're going to dry clear, and they're going to have a gloss to them. But before I go any further, one of the things I love to do with paste is to add glitter on top of it, especially when I'm using the transparent paste on top of ink blending. So I'm pulling out some glitter from Hero Arts and Tim Holtz. These are both clear glitters. I have them linked in the video description below. And I'm sprinkling, not dumping, sprinkling that glitter over top of the stencil design. Once it dries, I'll brush off any excess, and you can see how those raindrops now have that wet finish, but a little bit of sparkle for some extra shimmer and shine. Because I can't have enough glitter. That makes me happy, so I wanted to continue to do that. Now, like I said, I was having a creative block day. I don't know what I was thinking here. I put my panel onto my A2 card base, but I wasn't done with the ink splattering yet. Dummy me. But that's okay. I always try to find a way to work around these things. So I just put painter's tape over top of the card base because I did attach that panel onto my card with foam tape, so I had room to slip that underneath. That way I can protect the card base from any of the splattering that I'm doing on top, which is all done with Tim Holtz Distress Spray Stains. I have all the colors that I use linked below as well. Bright colors, I'm picking out colors that kind of match well with the Karin markers that I use for the watercoloring, and this just adds some texture. Now, as I've said in many of my videos before, if you don't like splatter, you could totally skip this step. It is not necessary to add all this splatter, but I love it. So that's why I'm doing it. And that's one of the things I really wanted to encourage you with today's video is to do things you love on your card project, especially when you're having a hard time creating. It makes such a difference when you're enjoying the pieces and the products that you're working with. Reach for your favorites. Even if you've used them a million times, I guarantee you it's going to make you happy because it's something that you are familiar with and something that you've always enjoyed using. Okay, so we have our background drying. That's set aside. I've inked it plenty. I don't need to ink it anymore. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull out this new Simon Says Stamp Sentiment stamp set. This is XL Birthday Greetings. Great greetings. I love big greetings because they fill up a card wonderfully. I'm going to choose this birthday sentiment. I'm going to ink it up with embossing ink from Simon Says Stamp. Yes, this is a go-to technique for me of stamping onto a colored cardstock and embossing it with white embossing powder. But who says we have to reinvent the wheel? So I'm going to go ahead and do my go-to technique. Then I'm going to pull out the coordinating dies for this stamp set. I definitely encourage you to get the dies if you like this sentiment set because I love being able to fussy cut my greetings out, and having the dies is so much easier. So I cut that sentiment out. I popped it up off of my card using a little bit of foam tape right in the center there. And I know I'm not done yet, but I am going to add some gem stickers from Honeybee Stamps. I've been using these a lot lately, and that's because I love them. They're so cool. They are self-adhesive, so all you have to do is stick them down on your card, and they add just a little bit of interest to your very colorful cards. They also have neutrals and other pretty colors too if you're not the rainbow person that I am. They're really versatile, and they provide a great embellishment on your card. All right, I covered a lot in this project. You probably find it hard to believe that I had creative block with all the stuff that we covered today in this video. But I think this card is a great testament for showing you how even if you have creative block, you can still make something beautiful. And I hope that's what you can take away out of today's video. Whether you were inspired to create this card or maybe this video was just a really good and helpful look at what to do when you have creative block, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got some inspiration from it. Don't forget that this video is also showcasing one of the new Simon Says Stamp exclusive collaboration sets for STAMPtember 2021, and that is with Memory Box. This is the True Friends set. It is only available while supplies last, so I did want to point that out. If you did like this set and you wanted it, you would want to grab it while you can before it sells out. Now, before I go, I did want to mention one more thing. I was in the Simon Says Stamp Crafty Q&A Facebook and YouTube live stream right before the start of STAMPtember. I was partaking in that live with Susan Opal, Beth Opal, Sherry Carroll, and Heidi Crow. And one of the questions that was posed by you guys as the viewers was, what do you do when you get creative block? Well, this is a perfect example. But another thing I love to do is, and I mentioned this in the crafty chat, I love ink smushing. It is such a fun and very therapeutic technique for me. I encourage you that if you have a technique that you love to use, just sit down and play with that technique. Don't focus on making a card. That's something else I like to do, is I just make backgrounds. So I don't focus on trying to make a card. I just enjoy playing with the product. And it's also a great educational tool too, because the more you play with the product, the more ways you come up with how to use it. So I find that helpful. It's another way to be able to get yourself kickstarted back into the creative juices and get your mind going again. So I wanted to point that out too. If you wanted to check out the Crafty Q&A, I'll have it linked in the top right corner here on the screen so that you can watch it, or in the video description below. So thank you for tuning in today for this video. I hope it was inspiring. I hope you enjoyed. I thank you so much for watching this video. Please be sure to give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I'll be back soon with more to share with you all, but until next time, I hope everyone has a very wonderful day. Bye!